Welcome to episode 146 of The Endless Stream. I'm Aidan, and this week I am joined by Brian. We are two artists, illustrators, filmmakers, and all-round shit talkers, and each week we take some of the endless stream of content brought to you through Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Disney+, YouTube, Spotify. Wherever you get your content, we take a chunk of it, we watch it, and we talk about it. This week we are talking about The Gentleman, we are talking about the Oscar predictions, we are talking about Garth Marenghi and his dark place. If you like what you hear, please consider subscribing to the podcast, heading over to iTunes, heading over to Spotify, rating, reviewing, liking, subscribing. All of these good things really help us out. On top of that, you can head over to Instagram at The Endless Cast, where we put up artwork and clips to go with each episode. And that's a great place to send us a message, suggest something for us to watch, disagree with our opinions, and offer your own. Or you can send us an email at theendlesscast@gmail.com. All of that being said, let's get into the episode. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks since Dune come out, and I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Did you get a chance to see it?
Stop!
What?
Stop!
What?
Lying.
I have to start the podcast somewhere.
Yeah, start the podcast somewhere else. Don't start with a big, massive lie.
Sorry, hold on. It's been a couple of weeks since Dune came out. I haven't had a chance to see it yet. Did you get to see it, Brian?
It hasn't been a couple of weeks. It came out on March 1. That you know what was really annoying?
It's at least 10 days.
Here's your start. Hey, you know what was annoying, Aidan?
Hey, what's annoying, Brian?
Do you know what was annoying? On all the trailers for Dune,
yeah,
which came out on March 1st. I don't know if you noticed this, but they said Dune Part 2 in cinemas March 1.
Why did they do that?
Why did it? Did you notice that?
I did, yeah. I was like, that's not
March
great. That's not the way language works.
That's not how we talk. That's not how language works. That's never been... You know, it's contentious enough that we say things like 1st of March or March the 1st, September the 11th. It's like, what? September the 11th?
I've noticed as well that there is a thing, I've seen people comment on this as well, that people are in publication and in, just broadcasting, reluctant to say things like the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century anymore, because they know that there's a cognitive step people have to make to calculate the 19th century is 1870,
Yeah.
And they're just not prepared to let people do that brain work. But Dune came out March 1.
March 1.
Any Dune thoughts, Brian?
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to see it yet.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it is. It really is. It's just so much cohesion. Oh, what a wanky thing to say. It's just, but it really is though. It really is. I saw Villeneuve talking about how he
can I just
script,
pause you for one moment and just go, Brian, I love the moment. I love the rare scenario wherein you're like, this was fucking brilliant, and you want to talk about it. So do not hold back on wanky language. Just be you, Brian. Love film. Go. There was so much cohesion. Take it from there. I saw a clip
of him recently talking to Nolan. Nolan was saying that he barely storyboards, and Villeneuve was saying that he gets a script, storyboards it, and then goes back to the script and changes the script to adjust it to the boards, because it starts to take shape in his head. And to me, when I knew very little about directing, back when I still know very little about directing, but when I was 19 and had this fucking notion I was going to direct some stuff, that would have been exactly my approach. And I don't mean that I'm on his level. It's just, to me, that's how. It's amazing that he's been able to get that sort of clout and leeway to make stuff. And it always baffles me when there's so many creative vision disagreements, and by people who can talk the talk and kind of know what they're doing. And yet somehow it just fascinates me that this is from the off. There is just, I hate going back to this as well, but comparing it to something like Rebel Moon, because they're both very visual directors. And Villeneuve even said recently that plot and dialogue are for TV shows, and he's less interested in that. For him, film is sound and images. And there's Zack Snyder doing exactly the same thing. I think I mentioned before, when I was shitting on Sucker Punch, it was Sucker Punch is exactly the type of film I probably would have made when I had notions of being a director and I was 19 or 20. I probably would have directed a dog shit piece of film like Sucker Punch that was just all visual. And then we've got this Dune Part 2, which is just
But it's a grasp of story and character and emotion, and then going, cool, I know how to do this. I am a mature, considered filmmaker. Yeah. This is the aspect of it that I'm really passionate about, as opposed to, I don't feel that Snyder or Nolan have a grasp of those things really, beyond, just the these are seasoning for the visual shit I want to do, or the idea. Yeah. In Nolan's
there's so many parts in it where it just takes its time with it's clear that there was a lot of visuals and shots that they were like, okay, there's I want this shot, and it holds on them as well.
Yeah.
It really sets a kind of it's like this is the best part of 3 hours long.
Oof.
Buckle up, settle in, and it doesn't rush either. It kind of, and that's not to say it drags, but like it just takes its. There's so many shots in it that are just like these really artfully constructed kind of establishing shots, and it just creates a mood from the start, and you're in it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Great. It's really cool.
Villeneuve, did you see Enemy? I haven't seen Enemy. I'm just looking at the IMDb run for him. Have you seen Enemy?
Mm-hmm.
How is it?
It's good.
It's good.
Strange.
If it's it's the one that it's the gap that I have there. But Prisoners, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner 2049, Dune, and Dune 2, that's a run.
He's done 11 altogether, I think, hasn't he?
11 films,
I think. Yeah.
I see 7.
I was surprised when it was 11. Yeah.
I see 7 from that. I'm kind of discounting the earlier stuff that I guess it's the groundwork, but it's before he was.
No, what I mean is he's done 11 total, but since Prisoners probably, was that the first
sort of American?
Was it Prisoners or Enemy? It was Prisoners, I think.
Prisoners first, yeah. It's interesting that you talk about. Well, it's interesting that you say that about Villeneuve and his storyboard back to script approach in relation to Nolan's just script approach, because my first gut reaction to The Dark Knight when I saw it and came out of it was, of course, I enjoyed this film. You have your thoughts on the Nolan Batmans, especially Dark Knight Rises, but
I love Begins and Dark Knight.
Yeah,
but just Rises is.
But I got to
I'm being mean, but
I got to the end of Dark Knight and I was just like, I'd have lost the Tokyo thing and I'd have lost a chunk of the ending. And the way I expressed it was, it feels like he had something in the script that he liked and didn't notice that it didn't work by the time the whole script was finished and approved and written. And it's like it's the Kill Your Darlings thing. He's got 7 drafts of the script and he just loved this idea of him running away with
and this is the thing as well.
Guardian.
He keeps that stuff in there, but it just jumps from it to another thing.
Yeah.
As in he'll keep it, but he'll trim the stuff around it. So rather than actually kill the sequence, he'll just trim the fat off, and it's it goes in here, and
that's where it'd be,
because it is kind of a hard, not in a technical sense, it's not a hard cut, but narratively it's a hard cut to Hong Kong. Suddenly Bruce Wayne's in Hong Kong and he's talking to Lucius, and it's why, what are they doing with their cell phones in the building? What's this? What's going on? And it's they're basically doing this shot where he practically base jumps off the building, and then it's back to Gotham. It's what was all that?
Yeah. We needed to set up the cell phone based radar surveillance thing. It's did you? When you come away from that movie, do you think of it as a commentary on cell phone surveillance and the moral quandary of it being used by a good guy for a good cause, as opposed to
it brings it up. So
it brings it up, but what? Why? Even if it's just raid the building in Hong Kong, come back and then find the Joker at the building site. We don't need to get into your fucking sonar superpower all of a sudden. Where did that come from? Sorry, we're on the wrong film.
I think that was about, I think it's good to bring it up because...
But it doesn't even hold up now because the technology looks so fucking dated as well.
But that's the thing, it was about kind of the theme of escalation. Because, that this was a post 9/11. When did it come out? 2008?
Yeah.
So...
2007-ish.
It was a good few years after 9/11, but it was still, there was, America was still involved in global conflicts, and there was very much a question of
But then
escalation.
that needs to be
You know,
like
but
that
what-
needs
no,
to
what
be
I'm saying-
the
what I'm-
thrust of the film, not this weird
yeah.
little like,
But
oh,
the-
also
but
here's
that-
some phone
that-
shit.
But that is why it's kind of worth talking about it with respect to Dune 2, because Dune 2 is very much about a holy war and whether, like, Paul is essentially a terrorist,
Yeah.
you know, and it doesn't matter really what side of the conflict you look at it from. And then comparing that to, you know, how many atrocities are going on today, you know, similar conversation about what's justified, what's not justified, and that theme is driving the whole film. And it doesn't pick a side either. It's just kind of like he's conflicted about it, but he's also locked into it because that's how the spice works. You know, well, it's not how the spice works, but oh shit!
What
Can you
happened?
still hear me?
I'm still here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my computer's being a shithead.
Uh.
Yeah, it's just interesting comparatively because, you know, one is based on a comic book character and the other is made by a director who clearly has a love for comics.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's interesting how different their styles are and how different the conversations about them are as directors. And, you know, if this was pre-Oppenheimer, it'd be kind of a different conversation again. But Nolan's earned a lot of credibility with Oppenheimer, which does a lot of the, you know, the stuff you kind of are criticizing The Dark Knight for is all over Oppenheimer.
Yeah, just
like,
big jumps, big weird, like the
name drops a physicist somewhere and he goes, well, I have to go talk to that person, and then suddenly
cut
they're
to.
in. Yeah, cut to. He like I was.
I will
telling,
go to
I
New
think I was telling
Mexico.
my sister.
Suddenly he's in New Mexico. And it's
I was telling my
be
sister
yourself,
about-
not them. Hat on, fucking like the Batman suit up sequence.
It's Batman Begins.
Yeah.
Watch Batman Begins and Oppenheimer back to back. and
Battenheimer.
See how similar they are. They really are. And it just, for me, it didn't work for Oppenheimer. It's like, this is silly. This is very silly. I actually can't believe it's got as much praise as it has. I'm very surprised by it.
Oppenheimer. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it just the scale? Like the thing is, like I really enjoyed Oppenheimer.
Is the scale of it that impressive? Is it though?
It's the combination of. No, it's not. It's a combination of the IMAX format, the 3 hour long, the narrative around the like X amount of miles of celluloid, the pairing with the Barbie thing.
Yeah.
Like it was a perfect storm of making you care about a movie. And it's good. It is good, to be fair.
I don't
it
think
is
it's good.
I enjoy it. Then I'll rephrase it as I enjoy it. There was something that I had about it. I don't know. It was like he was trying to do a very talking head thing, because it is much more sort of like, right, I'll do a movie about humanity and people actually talking to each other and this guy's emotional response to things. But at the same time, it's very cold and very mechanical and very like ticking over.
Very impersonal. Yeah.
Yeah. I was writing jokes for this show we had a couple of days ago, and I was trying to get an Oppenheimer one in there, a Nolan one, you know, like Christopher Nolan once again displayed his loose grasp on what it means to be a human being through the sex scenes in Oppenheimer. Like there's something there that like he's trying to show that he understands what a human connection is through film, because his films are always criticized for their sort of like the fact that humanity and relationship is very much a sort of secondary thought to whatever the idea is, whether it's time travel or whether it's, relativity or fucking physics is cool. But I don't know what my point is. Can you plus that joke?
I would say kill that darling.
Oh, it's a numbers game. Okay, so Dune. Is Austin Butler good?
He is. I haven't seen him in anything yet, to be honest.
No, okay.
And I'd heard he was, one of the best things in it. So behind the Elvis hype and then the hype around this character, I was kind of curious to see what it's all about. And I get it. He's great. He's great.
He is like Elvis. My criticism of that Elvis movie is all towards Lerman and the Lermanism of it. It's just like I was 15 minutes in of like bright lights and camera moving before I had anything that felt like a human scene where somebody felt a way about a thing. You know, it was all very music video-y. Like shots of like a kid running across planks in a muddy thing to a revival, a gospel revival thing. It's like, I met this boy. And Tom Hanks doing his weird Dutch Southern voice that the Colonel had, because he was he Dutch, or it's something European anyway. I might just have Dutch on the brain, but it was just like, it's 15 minutes before you get to a place where there's a real scene, and you know, like I couldn't. I felt
like that about Oppenheimer.
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair. I just, maybe it was less comical, so I just bought it more. Like, there's so much. No, like the way the camera moves in that Elvis movie is roller coastery, carnival-y, Moulin Rouge-y. You know what I mean? Like, there's like a whoosh as it moves type of thing. So it's just very much. I thought Austin Butler was really good in it, and I thought he was really good in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well. So no, I've been kind of on board with the guy. He got a lot of shtick for hanging on to that accent or sounding Elvis-y. I think there's probably an element there as well that, like, he put a lot of work into sounding Elvis-y. He probably sounded a little bit Elvis-y to begin with, and this is the first time people really had a breakthrough moment to know who Austin Butler was. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
He probably did a lot of voice work for it, and that, like, your voice can change. It's supposed to be able to change to communicate, and you just settle into wherever you like. But if I was to change how I speak and was to just do it consistently every day for months, that would be how I talk now. And there's nothing fake about it. It's just that's my it's not locked in. It doesn't have to be locked in. Yeah. It's not like your handwriting. You know, we kind of lock into our handwriting, and then we don't even really. We can change it if we want. But if you move to another city, you're going to pick up the accent. You're going to change the way you talk.
Yeah, you pick up, you abbreviate sort of local languages and colloquialisms.
So if you just make a conscious decision to start talking differently, there's a point where that is your voice, because it's your voice.
Well, I'm glad he's good in it.
He is. Yep.
I just connected the dot that he's the character that Sting played.
Yes.
Which is funny. Just look, it is funny when you look back at the old one and just see the casting and see what they could do. You know, like seeing those shots. I haven't seen the original Dune, but seeing those shots now, I'm like, oh, I guess that's the gladiatorial kind of vibe, and I guess that's what you do in the 80s when you've got the budget you've got. If you want to give the sense of a immense gladiatorial pit, you know, just smoke. Dark, give a sense that there's stuff off in the distance rather than, because you can't create a stadium, using what you can. Who else? Florence Pugh, good. Well, how's Walken? I haven't seen Walken in ages.
Everybody's great in it. Everyone is great.
Okay, cool. Love to hear it.
Javier Bardem is really good in it as well. He adds a lot of humor to it, despite that. Yeah. Despite being, his character's like a fanatic, really, and yet it's kind of funny. We can have a conversation after you see it about the, you know, appropriation of language and things like that. Kind of worth having, particularly with, you know, the state of the world today. I think we can't really talk about the film and ignore it.
Yeah.
But can't talk about it without spoiling it as well. So.
Okay. We'll come back to it.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah, we'll dig into it in a bit at a later date. The other thing that you and I both did was we went to see Garth Marenghi.
Garth Marenghi. Dublin audiences suck.
Dublin audiences suck?
They really do.
Because Cork audiences are so great?
I wouldn't say that they're great. They're better than that, though. And to be fair, there's a lot of people not from Dublin living in Dublin. So I'm not saying that, you know, that the people that were being fucking cringy in the audience, I'm not saying they were definitely Dublin people. I don't think all of them were. But something about an audience in Dublin, terrible. Just
awful. What are you, is it the Q&A bit? Is that the main thing you're...
No, it was the no. There was people just like chiming in, like it's like, well, he's an asshole, so we're going to bait him. It's like, no, he's playing a character. He's not an asshole. He's up on stage. And it's like, I'm going to say something that's going to rile him up. It's like, no, just fucking let him do his show. When he was doing the bit about the Randy Man, the kind of Candyman joke, and then someone, I don't know if you heard it, but somebody sitting just like a row ahead of me just like started singing the Candyman can, but they were like, oh, the Randy Man can. It's like, it's not funny. Not worth it. And he just paused and kind of looked out in the audience. He's like, yeah, you should be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Just shut the fuck up. Let him tell us jokes.
Yeah.
We're not here for you.
There's a fine line with that as well, that like a comedian, or especially like a sort of mildly cult comedian like that brings out your complete comedy nerds. But it also like I saw so many people I know from like the comedy community there, and I guarantee you those people kept their fucking mouths shut. Do you know what I mean? But like it's the extreme comedy nerds who think they're funny. I wish I'd gone up on stage.
I was looking over at you and I was like, get up there.
I wish I'd gone up on stage.
Yeah.
I did that. It's a lesson learned, to tell you. Like an opportunity came up like that just this week, and my hand I went up. Like my hand just bang. Let's go. That's the lesson learned. I'm not doing that again. I've made a few mistakes like that where I didn't react quick enough and I didn't get on. And the one I will kick myself for forever was to test her material in a new city.
Oh yeah, Maria Bamford.
Maria Bamford puts a tweet out and goes, who wants to come and have a one-on-one show? And she just meets you in a bar and runs through her material.
Tara's friend
did
to that. Yeah.
And I saw the tweet.
He replied to her and
and I hesitated because I was just like, oh, what if it's really uncomfortable? I was like, who gives a fuck? Go.
Wrong thought. Yeah.
Who gives a fuck? Go.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I send you that when I saw it?
No, I was kind of watching for it because I knew she was in town, because I knew it happened, and then when I saw it, I was like, oh fuck, I manifested it. It's there.
Oh no, I don't mean.
Oh, that Tara's friend.
I think I did send it to you, but you'd already heard it.
Yeah.
As in,
it's so like this week I had so there was a show on that was like, I think I told you a little bit about it, but like a comedy show, variety show, and it was a kink theme thing, and a comedian was like writing a role play, and he had the script for whatever to read. It involved bringing up a vibrator and like giving a walkthrough of like some sexual health stuff, and it was like, now first you're going to get some hand sanitizer, and he took out a bottle of Durex lube and rubbed it on his hands, and then he was shaking people's hands with lube on, and it was just kind of a little like people going but I mean, I guess there's two ways to react to this next bit. In my head, it got the best reaction because it got a big reaction. But when we got called up on stage, and there's like somebody else sitting on stage as a psychic, called up on stage, and I go to do my bit. He's like goes to shake people's hands, and he's still got lube on it. And one guy reaction was just like, I'm not shaking your hand with the lube on it. And I shook his hand, and I paused and looked at my hand covered in lube, and the audience sees my hand covered in lube, and then I just went, rubbed it on my gums, and the whole room's reaction of just like, huh, was Garth Marenghi. I was not hugely familiar with his work. I've seen clips, I've seen the odd videos, I've seen an episode or two of Dark Place. I've not had the like conditions to watch it. Like I know I should sit down and watch it just as a comedy nerd, but the thing with it that I find is that like it's made to look like a bad TV show from the 70s, 80s?
Say late 70s, early
late
80s.
70s, cool.
I would think.
So the whole aesthetic is this looks crap and feels crap, and it's funny because of how crap it is. And when I'm sitting in my living room or at my computer with that on, in the broad light of day, just coldly watching it on my own, I'm just like, yes, these performers are funny, but they're playing sort of stilted, and it just is actually hard for me. Whereas if I was sitting with five of my mates with a few beers, all laughing together, it's a different experience.
I think a lot of the intentional poor visuals, it still holds up when you know stuff about like making. Because there's a running gag, I think it's in the second episode, and there's a temp character, and every time they shoot the temp, they shoot him from like the neck up,
right,
with like all this like headspace around him, so which is just like breaking all these rules of like how to shoot close-ups and things in film and television. But it doesn't matter the scene or the conversation. If there's a scene with the temp and it's like back and forth between two or three characters, the shot of the temp, it's always like locked off from the others. It's always like this from the neck up shot, and it's just this recurring gag that they always shoot the temp in the same style, in the same kind of shitty style, and the more they do it, the funnier it gets.
Okay.
But so the joke isn't just that this is bad; it's that they turn it into a kind of a running gag.
I don't doubt that
and it probably is funnier when you watch it with other people.
That's the thing of it. It's like there's a communal exercise that like Arrested Development was never funnier than when we were watching it in your house, 4, 5, 6 of us laughing at every stupid little aside, every little Ron Howard. He did not. Like every little whereas when you're watching that flat on your own, just taking it in, you're going, yeah, that is funny. But when you're just
but you could say that about virtually any comedy as well, though.
I know. So. But it's harder when the aesthetic is intentionally cringy or intentionally crap looking or intentionally, you just, I don't know. That's just my bias. He's undeniably a very funny man. And I enjoyed the show immensely. I got a ticket last minute off a friend whose friend had to cancel. And we had great seats. And he was very funny. And I loved his confidence and his just ownership of the space. It was very, very good. Garth Marenghi, funny man.
Should we mention his real name?
Derek Cora? I don't know. What's his real name?
Matthew Holness. He also has a great character in The Office. He's Garth's friend in The Office. Is it Garth?
Never saw The Office.
Mackenzie Crook's character? Never? You have. You've seen something.
I've seen clips, but I never watched an episode.
He's got a character in it. He's talking to Mackenzie Crook, and he's just bragging about go-karting and how like the person working there was like, no professionals on the track. And he's like, I'm not a professional actually. And it's just he's this blowhard character, and it's very funny.
Is he? Who's like? Okay, I don't know. I genuinely haven't watched The Office because I got it into my head.
It was a once-off character. It's a once-off character. It's very funny.
Okay, I had great fun that night. I ended up going to Foggy Dew, Pawn Shop, Bison, and Workman's, and didn't get home till 4 a.m. Very drunk, very fun. And Mick Pyro was in the Foggy Dew. Was I saying that to you? Republic of Loose. He was very something. I don't know if he was drunk or high or whatever he was. Is that slanderous? Libelous?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't. He didn't give the impression of clear-headedness, but that's all I'll say. And he was singing, and it was fine, and I left.
The Gentleman.
Did you watch all of or some of?
I did, yeah.
Oh, you watched all of it.
Background, watching,
yeah.
But, yeah.
Did you like the Did you like the film? Did you see the film?
Yeah. Film's entertaining.
Film is entertaining. As Guy Ritchie films go, that one's kind of fun. It's got its shitty moments. And it's like, it definitely falls into that sort of glamorization of London gangsterism that Ritchie does.
Some people really love.
Some people
really love that.
Yeah.
I saw people talking about this TV show. I don't know where I saw them talking about it.
Peaky Blinders is pretty close to it as well.
Oh, it's very Peaky Blinders. Yeah, very. It's very, very Peaky Blinders.
It's sort of an interesting, like, working class, upper class thing. Like the upper class of the working class, Does that make any sense? Does that make any sense? Do you know what I mean? Do you know what I'm getting at? It's like like England is British culture is very class based.
Yeah.
I'm not making shit up when I say that. And there's great pride within the class that you reside in, or can be great pride within the class that you reside in, the sort of the working class hero thing. And then this idea of the gangster, the I don't even know what you would call them, but like gangster might not be a correct word in the.
Are you okay?
Not really. I'm tired.
What is wrong?
I'm struggling. Too many things, Brian. Too many things. I am the busiest unemployed person you've ever met. I'm trying to do 12 things in 12 directions. None of it is leading to forward momentum. And
maybe pick one. Put all your energy into one.
They all need their attention. They all need their time.
Don't half-ass 12 things. Whole-ass one thing.
Do I just stop doing art?
Yeah.
You reckon that's the one to let go?
No.
No? Okay.
It was the first one you mentioned.
sorry, no, but like you see, like I see like podcasts with like former London gangster talks to current London hood, and it's like, oh no, it was a business, you know. It's like, it's just doing business. Like I wasn't hurting innocent people. I was like, what the fuck are you?
But like it kind of is. I mean, corporations are fucking cutthroat. They're
Yeah.
just operating within laws that they fucking spend a lot of money to ensure get made laws, you know?
Yeah.
Currently, what, Amazon, Starbucks, bunch of others in America are lobbying against unions.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know?
It's fucking, it's madness. I don't know how anybody can, with any like, even if you're working for these companies, how can you, with any sort of moral backbone, look at the history of the world pre-union, post-union, and go, we need to get rid of unions, and I'm going to be the person to get involved with and do that.
So yeah, I mean, you know, the world of business is no less cutthroat. We're you know, when you have your office job, you're insulated from, you know, you're so low down the food chain, you don't necessarily see it, but you go up high enough, it's just as fucking, for sure. Marla's giving out to me. You know it's true, Marla. You know it's true.
I did enjoy The Gentleman. I think it's like McConaughey's charisma. I think it was a fun idea as well, playing with the idea of like the landed gentry are cash poor, hide the weed, grow houses on the estates, and I was unsure how they were going to pivot that into the TV series, and it made perfect sense. It did feel like the dollar store or the little version of the movie in places. You know, it lacked that sort of just like visceralness of the film in places. You know, like it. Miss Glass, Susie, was that her name? You know, she's dressed up undoubtedly in probably well-sourced high fashion outfits, or maybe a step down based on budgetary things, but it just didn't quite look as sharp as McConaughey's Missus, you know, and it's the way it's shot and it's the way it's tailored. And
I think the screen grab you sent to the group chat, pretty good summary of it. You know, the close-up shot of the handwriting and this.
I guarantee you that's Guy Ritchie.
This wobbly scroll of like Duke, and it's like, it's like, hey, should we get someone who can do calligraphy? It's like, no, because that will cost. That'll cost a couple $100. Why you do that? I'll just copy this out here now.
So just for the listener, there is a point where Giancarlo Esposito's character is handing out like handwritten invitations, and he's got people like writing things calligraphically, and it goes to an insert shot, a close-up of this like fountain pen or dip pen writing the name of the Duke into it. And like, it's just because, like, I would have noticed it regardless, but my little art brain TikTok has thrown up so many videos of beautiful slow-mo calligraphy with like all of the equipment, like the side-mounted nib pens and stuff. Like, I've watched people do calligraphy for ages because my brain loves it. You know, it's just a beautiful, like, almost ASMR-y, the scrape against the paper, the smoothness of the ink. I have seen calligraphy being done so beautifully by, you know, not some world-famous person that's going to ask for millions to do a thing. Like,
probably a hobbyist.
Just pay someone to do this right, because that looked like hand-scrawled shite, and it looked like someone doing their best impression of what calligraphy looks like. And
they had the word up on a screen somewhere in front of them, and they just copied it down. And that D is wobbly. It lacks that like just beautiful little flow of the push of the pen. It wasn't a single confident stroke. It was this is going this direction, and my hand is already wobbling, but we are not doing it again.
And if there's one thing I like, it's confident strokes. And I guarantee you, because Guy Ritchie directed those first 2 episodes, I guarantee you that's Ritchie.
You should ask him. Call him up.
I'll call him up.
Get him on there.
I'll get him on the phone there.
Get him on the blower. Call him up.
Like it smacks of the like Tarantino, Shyamalan, like director insert moment. You know, the Mel Gibson like, you know, Mel Gibson's hands and the hands that drove the nails into Caviezel's, or drove the nails into Caviezel's, like, hands in The Passion of the Christ. You know, he said, I'll do it myself. But, like, it's easier to hit a nail with a hammer than it is to be good at calligraphy, I guess. Now, fuck it, I could be wrong, but, like, there we go.
It does speak to the lack of style and pizzazz that the show has compared to the film.
Yes, exactly. The other shot that I thought you were going to talk about, the one that I threw into the group chat, was when a half dozen of them are in the grounds of the estate doing like an ice bath with the boxer kid, and Vinnie Jones is in an ice bath, and there's like an establishing shot of this grounds area, and Susie Glass is walking down the garden, but you can tell it's a plate because there's a gazebo area where they're doing the ice bucket thing, but it doesn't sit right. Like the focus is, or the like, it's just wrong behind her, so it's masked off against her walking towards it. Then it cuts to inside of it, and you have a shot of Vinnie Jones in the bath, and he looks wrong against the background of the gazebo, and the people beyond the gazebo look wrong against the background of the benches they're sitting on, and the background behind them looks bad. It's like, so no one was in the scene with anyone else when they shot this? Like, there's 5 or 6 of you, you're not on the location, you're not even in the fucking gazebo. What the why? Just fucking shoot this. Anyway, that's my thought on that. Overall though, I'm going to go, it was a really fun show. I was prepared. I was kind of like, oh, Theo James is a sort of like, everybody feels sort of like the bargain version of the film. But no, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. Overall, I love seeing Peter Serafinowicz. I love his voice work. The Liverpudlian thing is, it's that sound that they get and things. It's, is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing, lad? Oi.
When we were in Liverpool for Pete's stag, and it was Saturday night, and we were in this part of the city that was recommended for Saturday nights, and it was basically Temple Bar, and we were like, this is terrible. Where do we go? So there was 6 of us, I think. At one point, we're just kind of standing in this kind of Temple Bar vibe. It's like, let's just quickly go up and ask people. So like we split into like 3 groups and went up and was like, hey, where would you recommend? You know, kind of whatever. And like we didn't go far. We literally just like from a group together in the middle of a square, we walked about 20, 30 feet and then walked back to the point that we were standing in. And it's like I got an answer from somebody. The two guys got an answer from somebody, and Pete went off and asked this group of girls, and we kind of regrouped. This is only like regrouped after like literally 2 minutes, you know. And said to Pete, "It's like, Pete, what did those girls say? Where did I recommend it? What did they say?" And he went, "Clack clack 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 clack," because he didn't understand a word they said. It's just like crows, and like not in a mean way. It's just I love the accent. I just thought it was hilarious. Like it's a very Irish accent. You can hear a lot of Irish in the accent, and it's funny that it's an hour from Dublin, and the accent is so strong. Sometimes you can't understand what they were saying. It's hilarious. Clack 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 clack.
It's like that, isn't it? It is a very fun one. But like who was the butcher or the fishmonger in the film? That person existed, right? Because they end up locking the guy in the freezer, and it's like, you either give me your money or we take a hand or something. You know what I mean?
Don't remember.
I recommend it. Let's just go with that. Fun show. Watch it. Throw it on in the background. It's a good for Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for Netflix.
Good for Netflix.
Good on Netflix.
Just as an aside, I was listening to the Off Menu podcast this week with Ray Winston, no doubt pushing this show. And he talked a bit about playing the Russian in The Black Widow. And I don't know if you saw this, but he just like, they went, "Oh, and you were in The Black Widow?" And he went, "Yeah, bit ropey, wasn't it?" And he was like shitting on his own performance in it. And that's like good, I guess, self-awareness, because, you know, he did get shit for that Russian accent.
Yep.
But he then went on to say that And I don't know, it was the second time I shot it, so I was a little like wobbly, because I shot the whole thing, and the decisions we've made with the director were that, like, look, he's a creepy Russian guy, he's kidnapping young people and training them, like, I think pedophile. I played him as a nonce. And he said he played them as this, it just had this creepy pedophile undertone. And shot the film, decommissioned, off he goes, and apparently Marvel were like, no. And they reshot his whole part. Like, they just did it all over.
Yeah.
So
it's like the woman who directed that did a mini series, I think, about human trafficking,
right,
sex trafficking specifically, I think. And like, I think Johansson had a say in who was going to direct this.
right.
So like the film they had planned is obviously very different to the film that came out, you know. And that's a lot of the missteps Marvel have taken, is not having trust in the directors. They'd be better off putting out a film and letting it be, you know, this cohesive thing that the director had, and people will either love it or hate it, rather than it being this middling thing. I didn't even hate Black Widow, but
It's just
there's a much more interesting film in there that they clearly went, no, let's go back and redo
just
all of this.
scared. They are scared.
And look where it's gotten them. You'd be much better off, much better served by just. I get insisting on it, you know, having that connective thing between the other films, but the best ones have been the ones where they've just been allowed to be what it's supposed to be. The Winter Soldier set out to be a 70s spy thriller, and it was just allowed to be that in the works. And obviously, it's darker if you've got a film directed by a person who you've specifically hired because she has a sensitivity and understanding to how to deal with human trafficking, which was major plot point, you know, that these girls are being abducted, brainwashed and trained and sold. Let her do her thing with it. It's a shame. Especially when the stuff that, you know, connects it to the other films is like the action and just a couple of name drops. So that stuff is all taken care of. You know, the action's going to be consistent because you've got the same stunt crew that you work with, you know, your same first and second units shooting stuff. So the action can be consistent. The other part is just, you know, make sure you name drop a Bruce Banner or a Captain America here and there, and then let the rest of the film be whatever it's supposed to be. I bet the same thing happened with Eternals as well, you know?
Yeah.
Where Chloe Zhao, you know, definitely had a kind of a vision, and you can see where it gets chopped up.
Yeah.
You can feel it. You can feel where the flow kind of goes, okay, here's what we're doing. It's like, and stop. We have to explain all this stuff in London before we get back to the interesting plot. Because, I mean, the plot of that is so much... Icarus's character is so much wasted potential.
Yeah.
You know?
The, like, objectively...
He's the golden boy
he's cool.
who can spoil it now, but he's... The way to play that film was the mystery aspect, you know?
Yeah.
Who's going around killing these people. It's the Superman character. Because he can't stand the truth of what he is. You know? I do like Eternals, but it's just there's a much better film in there.
Yeah, 100%. No, when you say you like Eternals, I'm assuming it's in the same place I am, where it's just like, I like parts of Eternals. I like some of the ideas. You like it overall?
I would sooner rewatch Eternals than so many other
interesting
Marvel things that came out.
Yeah. There's so many films that, like, recently where I'm just like, can we do that again? Because it's such a great idea. It's such a great idea.
But I was actually going to mention it at the start, but I ended up bringing it up for a different reason. But comparing it to Dune, you know?
Yeah.
Like, she's a visual filmmaker. She understands kind of letting things breathe, kind of pausing and kind of holding. And you can see those kind of stylistic choices in there. And then you can also see where they just shoehorned things in. There's a tweet going around as well at the moment where somebody asked somebody that worked on Dune why the VFX were so much better than Marvel movies. One, I don't think they are necessarily.
Which film is this? Sorry.
Somebody asked a VFX artist on Dune why the effects in Dune are so much better than Marvel movies. And the thing is, I don't think the effects in Marvel movies are that bad. Effects are bad when they are not given enough time.
Yeah.
But the answer they gave was they make choices really early on and they are consistent with those choices. So basically Villeneuve has an idea from the start what he wants it to look like, and a lot of visual decisions are made at the start, and they are stuck to, and they inform all the other later decisions, and then there's very little executive interference at the end of the process, because somebody would step in at the end and say, you got to change this, and the films could be fucking a month out or 2 weeks out or something, and now they're inserting an unfinished effect shot in. So it's not that Marvel effects are bad, it's that there's more of that interference and, you know, less time because they're making a decision rather than having something early on. But
just on the
you can feel that when you watch Dune.
Just on the sorry, because I lost you a little bit there because I was trying to remember the name of a couple of films as well, where it's like you're so close to a good idea. Can we just do it again? Like a couple of films that I was thinking about. I saw someone talking about Passengers, that Chris Pratt, Jennifer Lawrence space movie, and it's like, cool. Remake that as a horror movie where Chris Pratt is like remake that as a horror movie where it's slowly creepier and fucking creepier, and it's like, is this the first person that he's taken out of a pod? You know, is it the 12th person? Like, he's trying to make these relationships work, but eventually they fucking find out. Like, that movie's just kind of flat. Or even, like, re-editing it. I've seen videos where people just, like, cut. Like, rather than showing Chris Pratt wake up and go through this moment of isolation for, you know, the first 35 minutes of the film, start with Jennifer Lawrence waking up and their relationship starting, and then slowly reveal how long he was alone and how creepy that was. The other two that sort of popped to mind immediately are The Old Guard, that Charlize Theron kind of swing at Highlander. Like the way that they abandon the immortality thing pretty quickly and make them human and vulnerable. It's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this way? You know, you've managed to take a new swing at Highlander, and you're undermining it so fucking quickly. And the same thing happened with when I saw the trailer for Infinite, that Mark Wahlberg version of Highlander. I was like, that's like the trailer cut of that is, it's like, you've done it. You've made Highlander seem cool again. Like, it's a pain in the ass that it's Mark Wahlberg, but like, rather than it being, it's just a slight spin on it. Remove some of the technology bullshit, but like, it's a slight spin on it. Like, memories of past lives start working their way into out from his subconscious, and suddenly, like, there's a moment in the trailer where he like smiths a fucking katana, and he's like, why do I know how to do this? And it's like, that's the like mystery of his sort of memories coming back. And it's like, this is kind of cool. And then the film is horrible, and they get into like sci-fi James Bondian props and like underworld style wars between werewolves and vampires kind of thing. And it's like, why are we doing this? I don't know why you can be so close to something right and fuck it up. And it's like, can we just, let's take another swing, huh? Let's take another swing. But then trust a fucking filmmaker and leave them alone. Make them edit, but don't make them fucking change it, if that makes any sense. All right, that's a rant that doesn't really help anybody.
We should write a draft for Henry Cavill's Highlander.
God, he's doing that, isn't he?
We should write one, and we can either guess what it's going to be like, or we can just take the piss and write a funny one.
Were you on the podcast episode where Kevin and I talked out a version of Fantastic Four?
No.
I can't remember what we landed on. I'd have to go back and listen to the episode. The announcement, like, I'd love to, like, you give me your thoughts, because I'm sure you've got an idea. But what we landed on was the idea that, like, you can see from the poster it's got a 1960s vibe. We know that there's, like, it would be fun to start that movie in the 1960s and have them be, you know, that team there. We know that, like, Douglas's Ant-Man's probably knocking around in that era as well. That's kind of a fun thing that could pop up. The Fantastic Four definitely get into the quantum zone stuff. So if they're a team of scientists and you've got the astronauts in the space race, aiming towards the quantum realm for exploration, becoming trapped in there, that being the place where they get their powers. And because we know that area leads to time travel, that's how they like disappear from the 1960s but come back to sort of contemporary. So the arc of the movie is them going into the quantum realm, developing their powers, fighting a nihilist, maybe a Doom type, and then coming out to...
I wouldn't keep them in there for the whole film.
You think they come to contemporary?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't keep them in there, especially when, if I say 60s Fantastic Four, there's so much energy and imagery that already comes to mind.
You want them
and
in the
why
60s.
negate that by putting them in the quantum zone, which didn't work in Ant-Man at all, you know?
Yeah.
Why put them in there for a third of the film?
Yeah. So have all your
I
action.
wouldn't.
I guess it's just they have to disappear because they're not a presence
Yeah.
historically.
They could be, though. I mean, fucking
Just tell us.
Ant-Man just came in and said Ant-Man's been around
Yeah.
and has been around since before the Avengers.
Yeah. Same thing with the Russian fighting
Yeah.
Captain America in the 70s.
Yeah.
I gotta watch that film again. I think
can
there's
do
stuff
what
in
they
there I
want.
like.
It starts off great.
It starts off great. That chase.
It starts off fantastic.
The plane scene, like fleeing. I think I was watching The Americans at the same time as well, like Matthew Rhys and
I like that there's a point
Felicity.
in it where
Kerry Russell.
like there's the fight. There's a couple of action sequences early on that are really good as well.
yeah.
Yeah. There's good stuff in there.
There's
It's not terrible.
I did a little went a bit of a run movie wise on Netflix there the other day. I just had what did I end up watching? I just like some days I'm in the mindset to watch things and some days I'm just like not. Like often it's just like I just want TV. I finished like I binged Korra. I'd never watched Korra.
It's great.
It's fucking great. And having watched all of it, distinctly aware that this show got shit for Korra having a girlfriend in it. And I'm watching this thing going, well, I'm three seasons in and they haven't...
shit for so much.
But I'm 3 seasons in and they haven't got to this contentious same-sex relationship thing yet. Oh, I'm 3.5 seasons in and they haven't got to this contentious same-sex relationship bit yet. She holds hand with her and walks away in the finale.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's like, you can go back and go, oh, they were writing letters to each other and they were building a relationship through that. But it's so innocuous as to be negligible. And the only issue people, your moniker of like just the usual dorks. Fuck me, guys. That was not worth fucking complaining about. You dopes.
But I mean, that's one of the other things as well, is that show got... So we've got the new live action out at the moment, which is getting torn apart. And Korra got torn apart as well by those same fans. Yeah. You know? When it first came out.
I guess fandoms are the fucking worst.
There's so many people who watched that show when they were really young kids. And it's great that they liked it, but they're also... They are incapable of seeing it on its own merits. They can't watch Korra, they can't watch the new live action without it being through the lens of people that grew up with the show. Whereas like by the time I saw The Last Airbender, I was in my mid-20s probably. I had never seen mid-late 20s, I would say. I had never seen it as a kid. So I watched all of it and I was just like, this is brilliant. And then Korra was out and it's like, there's more? This is fan. I was watching it. Yeah. I think I was watching the first season around the time it aired. Yeah. And I watched it all at once. I think all of it had come out. Yeah. I watched it and I was like, this is fucking superb. And then saw the conversation online just shitting on the first season. I was just like, did we watch the same show? Like the villain in the first season is so good. Yeah. The fight scenes, the scene where he attacks the stadium when they're playing the final of the pro bending.
The pro bending thing, yeah.
That is so cinematic. That is so
There's elements of that in the Batman. You know, descending from the rafters into the stadium. Like
completely 100%. I when I watched that the first time, which was about I think 10 years ago, I was like, this would be such a good sequence for a Batman type film. The metal benders swinging kind of from the rafters. It's just that action set piece is superb. And people watched that whole season were like, it's shit, it's not great. It's like, what are you talking about?
What
the villain is so great. He was so creepy.
Did they want? The same fucking thing again? Like,
oh man.
And look, I will say the fact that it didn't have a clear arc in the way that The Last Airbender had. In terms of like, we know from the fucking get-go, it's like, oh cool, each book is an element, we're going to get 4 seasons and we're going to like get to an end here. What a nice clean chapter thing, but like by the time we're meeting old Katra and Katara, I think they call her Katra a couple of times in the show. It kind of threw me. They go.
No.
They do. I swear to Christ, because I was like, okay, how do I say this? Because he's
not to be a stickler, but you have to find that and show me.
Because like it took me a minute to register that Mako is named after Mako.
Yeah.
Because I've always called him Mako.
Why did that take you a minute?
Because I've always called him Mako.
Mako.
I've always called him Mako, like the shark. And that's been my connection. And then the one guy goes, we were talking to your friend Mako in the middle of the show, and I'm like, he said it the way I said it, right? So there's it's not, I'm not saying that this is a thing that happened a lot. I'm just saying in terms of continuity, one guy said it slightly sideways one time, and that's but look, forgive me, Katara. Old Toph was really fun. Old firebendy guy.
Zuko?
Old Zuko. I was going to say Roku. I was like, that's wrong. That's a TV app.
No, Roku was his grandfather.
Oh, okay.
Have you watched The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Yeah. Roku was the fire avatar.
Right.
He dies up in the volcano.
Okay.
Killed by abandoned by his friend, and then Aang's born. But
I don't remember. I watched it. I just can't remember. You know what I mean?
Zuko's... Oh no, not his grandfather. It was his grandfather's friend.
Right.
Zuko's grandfather was best friends with the fire avatar who was Roku. Anyway.
Yeah.
Katara or Korra is great. It's great. That animation, like the fight scenes in it are just...
I think the way they build in the...
J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, the way they build the skills into the technology as well. It's just great.
Yeah.
Great. It's good world building. I love it. I also watched Green Book, which is fine. But when you go that one best picture that year, you can go, yeah, okay, I guess. I then did look at what else was up that year, and it's like Bohemian Rhapsody, and like there are things that I don't know. It's fine. I enjoyed it. I will go. Viggo Mortensen's fucking great. Like you
Mahershala is great. They're both great.
They're both great.
I think that's it. Like the film is okay,
Yeah.
but they are just a treat to watch together.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's why people watch it and kind of come away going, like they carry it. They really do carry it.
Yeah.
And I get why you'd want to give it an award, despite whatever you want to talk about. You know, your white saviors and all of that.
But the like, I was watching it again, and I just had to I do that thing where I take a moment and go, Danish dude playing, you know, like Goodfellas character beautifully. Got the weight in him, got the way he carries himself. Like he is such a fucking great actor.
Is he out and out Danish though?
Okay, let me rephrase this actually, because it's not like he's Swedish all of a sudden, is he?
He's not Mads Mikkelsen. Don't confuse him with Mads Mikkelsen. Like didn't he live in South America for a bit as well? And he's pretty well travelled.
Oh yeah, he's pretty well travelled, I guess is the best way to put it.
He speaks fluent Spanish, I think, and something else.
Okay, I take it all back. Turns out I don't know enough about the guy. He's a Danish citizen, born in... Okay, his father's Danish. They met in Norway. Born in New York. Okay, nope. Actually, he's not a great actor. He's just playing himself. No, but they moved to Venezuela, then Denmark, and settled in Argentina. Yeah. They lived in Cordoba, Chaca, Buenos Aires. Okay, right. Look, you know what I'm saying.
He is a great actor.
He's a great actor, yeah. He's done a great job.
I saw people talking about The Road last night.
Right.
And I watched that film once, and it's superb. Have you seen The Road?
I haven't seen The Road. I read the book because, I don't know, I had notions.
Watch the film. The film is great.
I might read books. Is it? Okay.
Yeah, but you probably only need to see it once. Okay. I wish, though, I wish everybody could see it once.
Okay.
Because
go on.
I think the world would be very different if everybody saw that film once and just realized how fragile it really all is, and how there are so many things we just take for granted, and the absolute horror were those things to suddenly go, how quickly we'd be thrust into a fucking hell on earth.
Yeah.
And the bleakness of it, it's not even, it's crushingly hopeless.
Yeah. We're a hair's breadth away from scrambling around like rodents most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wish people had. I wish everyone could see it and sit with that and understand.
Slightly undermining that notion, though, is the idea that from my position of comfort, everybody I know who had read that book and watched that movie was just like, it's so horrific, it's so horrible. And I read the book, and I was just like, this is a post-apocalypse with a little light cannibalism. Like, I've been reading EC horror comics since I was 8 years old. I was like, this? Like, I was underwhelmed with the horror of it because I'm so inured to, I guess. Like, I mean, I was freaked out by a
what's a little light cannibalism?
What's a little light cannibalism?
Come on.
EC Comics wrecked my brain at 8 years old when I read a story about two aristocrats that placed a series. They were playing a game of poker, and everyone who lost a hand, they would remove a body part. And by the time they were like done playing, neither of them would give in, and their butlers were just removing pieces of them to the point that they had no limbs and were missing like extremities from the face. Like, that fucked me up. Like, that idea that people might be that so fucking stubborn, or like, that story sticks in my head. But yeah, that speaks to my damage. So when I read that book, I was just like, is this the bit I'm supposed to be freaked out by? That starving people might resort to cannibalism? I watched Alive in the 90s.
What's the big deal with them waiting for a pregnant lady giving birth just so they can eat the baby? Did you read the whole book?
Yeah. It didn't bother me. Didn't.
Okay.
I watched Alive in 1993. I was fucking 8, you know what I mean? I do not deny that that's horrific, but I didn't get to that point and go, oh.
No.
It was just like, it's fiction.
You're too far gone now.
Okay.
Live action Avatar. It's okay. They clearly set out to just make a live action version of the cartoon. It's fine. Some people are like furious at it, but again, those are the people who watched The Last Airbender when they were 7. But I did watch it kind of wishing they had, I don't want to say grounded, but grounded probably is the right word. Particularly because a week later, Shogun came out.
Right.
And it's interesting watching the two. They couldn't be more different, but there is a version of Avatar you could make that is basically Shogun, but with elemental superpowers, you know? And then I think you've basically got an Asian Game of Thrones. And I think that would have been the better show to make. But I think it was a lose-lose because those same fans would have hated it to take too much of a detour anyway.
Yeah.
You can never please a fandom that large, that opinionated. But I would have loved it to be more of a Crouching Tiger type show.
Right.
In terms of like costume and style and all of that. But I didn't think it was terrible either. And it's been renewed for a second and third season.
Oh, cool.
And it'd be interesting to see if I think they got most of book 1 done in season 1. I think people weren't happy with some stuff they cut. I thought the way they kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of conflated a couple of storyline lines worked. It'd be interesting to see if they do oh man, just like the kid playing Aang, I'll put it down to an experience. But there's a scene where the grandmother says the opening monologue of the show. It's fucking dreadful.
Yeah.
Like, just the worst line reading, especially when the cartoon starts with this bit and there's about 100 episodes, 60 odd episodes or something. So you can hear somebody do it with
gusto,
a bit of passion, and then she just gives the worst line reading ever. And it's crazy that they said, oh, we got to put this in there. This would be a nice nod for the fans. And that's the take they kept. Is crazy. Yeah, it is ropey in places, but overall I thought it was okay. But Shogun, though.
Shogun, tell me about this. I haven't had a chance to watch it, though.
It's 3 episodes in so far. I think it'll be 8 altogether. It's based on a book that I think came out in the 60s, 67, 69, I think. That. They made a mini-series, which I might have even seen the mini-series, but I would have been very young. But was it Richard Chamberlain was in the miniseries? If you look that up, you'll probably recognize it. Look up Shogun, Richard Chamberlain. You'll say immediately. I'd be surprised if you don't say, "Oh yes, I've seen this," or "I've seen." You have. There you go.
Have? Fucking hell!
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was on
I know
TV
the
quite a
DVD
lot, I
cover.
think. Yeah. Yeah.
Does
So it's
Shogun
remaking-
feature a white dude going to Japan?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah. It's Dances with Wolves.
How
but
can we? I was
Japan.
about to say, how can we have to take the Dances with Wolves route to every?
It's the going native. But I mean, Dancing with Wolves didn't invent that. It's just the going native.
I mean,
thing.
clearly Shogun invented it.
I don't know about that, but
I was
there's
just
definitely
prepared.
stuff
I
before
mean,
that.
I was just like, there was a moment, and like I don't even feel that strongly about this, but there was part of me looking at it going, yes, big fucking like Showtime, Showtime, FX. There's a big FX Game of Thrones level fucking like Japanese feudal era drama thing. Let's go. This is going to be cool. How great is it? This thought occurred that we're going to have a show just fucking set in Japan, Japanese people.
I mean, it still is all that.
It is, but it's
still
just
is all that.
it's just the idea that for a white audience we have to be able to see ourselves
But
reflected
like,
in it as
I
well.
will
It's
say, like the episodes I've seen so far, it feels like they focus heavily on Hiroyuki Sanada more so
like,
than
I hope.
there were entire in the latest episode. I feel like the main character, I feel like he definitely had the least screen time. I think maybe I'm wrong, but I was kind of happy that there was so many scenes in it that were just Tadanobu Osano, Hiroyuki Sanada, subtitles. It's like, you don't get your white guy. You got to work to get your white guy. It's good though.
I can't wait to. I kind of can't wait to watch it because it looks class and it's.
It's really, it's off to a great start. I hope it keeps that kind of quality and pace going. It's very good. My brother sent me a text saying I am caught up on Shogun, and then followed up with like unrelated. I want to be a samurai pirate.
Okay, I'll have to download. How many episodes are there?
I think there'll be 8 altogether, but it's releasing weekly. So
Okay, just give me the episodes. Just give me the episodes.
yeah, more and more. I was ranting to myself in my head because I saw right before our Avatar came out, like The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
I saw fans online saying, I hope they release it like one episode a week so that it's just in the kind of, public consciousness a bit longer so that it's there for 2 months rather than all releasing on the same day. And it's like, fuck you. Give it to me all at once. I'm paying for it. Fuck you. Stop stretching content out. If you want to watch it once a week, you do that. If the show's any good and it's all out at once, it'll be in the conversation for 2 months because people will just be talking about it.
Yeah.
Trying to artificially create hype and stretch it out by holding it one episode a week. Fuck you.
Yeah. Agreed. Just stop trying
The
to
prices
draw out your
of all these
subscriptions.
services are going up. Fuck you. Give me my content.
Give me my content. Yeah, I just got that fucking Amazon Prime thing where the ads kicked in. It's like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like,
Fuck off.
I think I might have to cancel.
I will cancel.
I think I
will
have to cancel. Amazon's a fucking pain in the hole to begin
Yeah.
with. I also watched Primal Fear. Richard Gere.
Had you seen it
Ed
before?
Norton. No, never seen it.
Okay.
Um,
Did you know the twist?
No.
Oh,
right,
wow.
right before it happened,
Cool.
I sort of got a sense of it, but
That's because they're hinting at it, I guess.
yeah, they're trying to soften the blow. It's good. It's good. Nice,
Yeah, solid.
solid little film. Nice arc of character as well in Richard Gere. The
Yep.
attention-seeking headline chaser at the end, leaving through a back door.
That was Norton's big break.
Yeah, it's interesting seeing him. I guess that like that
I remember.
that split personality thing has been done so many times that when he started doing it, I was just like, oh, here we go.
Okay.
It's a split personality thing. But
Yeah.
like, I guess it felt fresh at the time.
It's not even the fact that he's like got the split personality. It's the fact that he plays the lawyer into baiting him out. He kind of wants him to do it. He puts her life at risk, and then to find out that it was,
Yeah.
I remember when that came out, back when newspapers were still a thing and they had Cinema Times in them.
Do you remember opening the newspaper?
Underneath So I had the screen times for the cinema,
Yeah.
showing times, and for the section with Primal Fear, there was a little thing that said patrons are asked to not spoil the end of this film. It's like, that's interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
But you then go in looking for it. Just as you said that, I'm now
if you were aware that there was a
remembering.
twist at the end, you'd be kind of going, you'd
Question.
figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you open the newspaper and say, don't spoil the end of it, why would they say that? The second you go in, you're going to be like, what's the spoil? Where's the thing?
Yeah.
It's going to tip you off to it. It's like, you've kind of defeated the purpose of...
But do you remember, do you remember opening the newspaper and every cinema had their own little fucking, like, layout of the cinema times and their own branding, and, like, they all mashed up next to each other in a fucking jumble of bad graphic design. It was hard to fucking work out what was on where, and you'd be looking at one thing going, oh no, that's the wrong cinema. Those were the days, huh? Okay, I know this is your least favourite thing in the world.
Oh, God.
I know this is your least favourite thing in the world. What do you think's getting Best Picture? I'll run the list. American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall,
Yes.
Barbie, Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, Zone of Interest.
Give me the list again, slower.
American Fiction, Anatomy
No.
of a Fall, Barbie,
No.
The Holdovers,
Maybe.
Killers of the Flower Moon,
Maybe.
Maestro,
No.
Oppenheimer,
Maybe.
Past Lives, Poor
No.
Things, The Zone of
Maybe.
Interest.
No.
Okay, Poor Things, Past Lives, Oppenheimer, Killers.
I'd say Holdovers, Oppenheimer, Killers.
Holdovers.
Probably Oppenheimer.
I think it's going to be Oppenheimer. Holdovers is great. I really liked it, but I just don't see them giving it. I think I'm thinking it's down to Oppenheimer or Killers.
Yeah.
I would be very surprised.
Probably Oppenheimer.
Yeah, I do think that, like, I don't know, as flawed as Killers may be in its ultimate representation or telling the story of the Osage, I think it's maybe it's the Green Book of it in terms of, like, the social justice-y, like, maybe it's a little what's the word? It's a little flawed in its execution, but I think the intent is right. Okay. Best Director, Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Scorsese, Killers, Nolan, Oppenheimer, Lanthimos, Poor Things, Glazer, Zone of Interest. I'm not going to do the whole fucking list, but I'm just going to get the top ones off you. I'm not going to do all the categories.
This is what I think will win as well, not what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you
I
think
would
will get Best Director?
Again, probably Oppenheimer.
It's Nolan. I'd be inclined to agree with you on that one. Like, Scorsese does a great job on Killers, but, like, Nolan's, at least the narrative that he's given us around the work that they did to create the visuals and the tone of the theme and everything that went on in Oppenheimer, I think there's a better story told there. I don't doubt that Scorsese did great work, but it's much more straightforwardly shooting acting, you know. Actor in a leading role, Bradley Cooper, Coleman Domingo.
He's too sweaty for it.
Yeah.
Which is a new phrase I've learned.
Yeah. Thirsty for it is basically it, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's more pejorative than thirsty.
Yeah, it's desperate.
Yeah.
So the
But it's one they specifically use for awards chases, apparently.
the joke I have for it is, did I send you the one where it's Bradley Cooper is the 5th most nominated man in Academy history to have not won an award. So he's got 12 nominations and no wins. He's the 5th most nominated without ever having winning. 5th. He's not even winning at losing. That's my joke. Coleman Domingo, Rustin. I don't know what Rustin is.
No.
Giamatti, The Holdovers.
I think it's between Giamatti and Murphy.
Yeah, and then Jeffrey Wright is there as well. Wright deserves a nomination. He's a good actor. Good man. I enjoy him in more or less everything. I want Murphy to win it. I want Giamatti to win it. I want Murphy to win it out of nationalism. I want Giamatti to win it because I like Giamatti. Murphy, I think, deserves it.
Giamatti's won before, though, hasn't he?
I'm not
Did he
sure.
get one for Sideways, I think.
Oh, okay. I think Murphy deserves it, but I don't like the man. Like, whereas, like, I like Giamatti and I'd be happy for him.
That's just because you hate Cork people.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that. Actress in a leading role, this is the last one we'll do. Annette Bening for Naiad, Lily Gladstone for Killers of the Flower Moon.
I think it should be Stone.
Emma Stone for Poor Things, Kerry Mulligan for Maestro, Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall. You think it should be Stone?
It should be Stone.
I think it should be Stone. She worked her fucking ass off in that movie.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It'd be
think
very easy to do what she did poorly.
Yeah.
Do it too broad.
Yeah. Now,
She didn't.
going back to this movie, right? I met somebody who, like, just in conversation, even I just overheard it, expressed my reaction to Poor Things. And she even said it from a position of, like, having not seen it, just from an outsider's thing. But, like, Born Sexy Yesterday, the Oscar version, like, I don't get... I don't
really,
get the
though.
arguments how this isn't
Not really.
just as objectifying
Because
in some ways.
first of all, like the person doing it to her is a complete piece of shit. You know?
How do you mean the person doing it to her? Ruffalo's
Well, when
character?
she's not born sexy yesterday, it's very different. Because Born Sexy Yesterday is literally that. It's somebody who is sexy because of their naivety and their shelteredness.
Do you think they're
Whereas
sexy because of naivety, or they're just sexy and naive? I just thought they
No,
were
no.
attractive and naive.
First of all, then I don't think they're sexy. But the view, like it's Born Sexy Yesterday. It's the Fifth Element.
Yeah.
It's the
Cora and Tron.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's the idea that it's like a sexy idiot essentially, and it's just like, oh, this is great. Here's this untouched but very sexy kind of thing, and like the directors behind a lot of that stuff are creeps. People like Besson, and whatever. The person who is enamored and the person who finds her appealing is a piece of shit.
Doesn't everybody in that movie find her appealing?
Not initially, no.
You don't think?
No.
I mean, even the first thing somebody...
But like
the first line somebody has...
Born Sexy Yesterday is when
So, hold on, let me just get this thought out before. I know you're
No,
doing the same thing, but
no.
like Willem Dafoe,
No.
the guy he brings in, his first line is, what a beautiful retard.
But that's the thing. Born Sexy Yesterday is when the director wants the audience to have a particular view. So it's the director's gaze telling the audience, look how alluring this person is. Whereas the director never takes that view in this film. It's a dissection of it, essentially. It is
Yeah.
Born Sexy Yesterday, but it's not because it's not the director's view. The director doesn't have that opinion. The director wants to show how something or someone born sexy yesterday, how does somebody have agency in that world? It's effectively, what if Lilu had agency in the Fifth Element? And that's why it's not it, because it's dissecting it. The director is deconstructing it, and he's deconstructing the patriarchy.
Because this is it. Like, I do.
That's why it's
I've
not.
heard these arguments as well, and I went into it with that concept of it, but
it's not it, because it's not the view that the text has. If you want to get
yeah, no, I do. Like, I'm open to the fact that I'm always open to the fact that I'm a fucking dum-dum, and I'm looking to understand.
Bella is born sexy yesterday, but the purpose of the film is what happens if somebody born sexy yesterday was to go on a journey of self-discovery and learn to go from being purely experiential and kind of sensual to actually understanding the horror of the world, and then how do they reconcile those two things with each other, which is never the point of a Born Sexy Yesterday film. The point of a Born Sexy Yesterday film is I need to come in and save this thing, because and it's very much an it,
because it starts there,
because it's not a she, it's an it
starts
in a Born
there.
Sexy. Yeah, it starts there,
and it moves beyond. Okay, I see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying. Yeah. Because like it very much, like the first time you see her in bed with Defoe's character, God, like you're like, what is the relationship between these two? Yeah. And then like he puts her out, but like there's clearly a bit where he's just like, gotta get her out of here now. It's like whatever that tension is, and then he goes like the reason he gives for not fucking her is like, oh, it would take such great effort of scientific endeavor to get me an erection. It's like, well, that's a fucking not a moral stance. That's an engineering problem to your perversion or to your libido rather than anything else. Yeah, I'm just I don't know. I'm trying to understand.
It is, but it's a critique of it.
Okay.
And essentially, by the end, she has the most agency out of any character by the end of the film.
Yeah. Interesting.
I want Ruffalo to get an award.
I kind of do.
He's so
great in it.
good in it.
So your
So good.
your nominee for actor in a supporting role.
Yes,
Sterling K. Brown,
Gotta be.
De Niro, Downey Jr., Gosling, Ruffalo. You want Ruffalo, right?
it has to be
It
Ruffalo.
has to be. It has to be Ruffalo.
It's got to be Ruffalo.